to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to Mr. Karazzi, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Amaditz, Mrs. Buckley, Mr. Christensen,
Here.
Mrs. Cook,
Here.
Mrs. Dobus,
Here.
Mr. Means,
Here.
Mr. Nagel,
Here.
Mrs. Rule,
Here.
Mr. Workmeister.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. We are pleased to have 3 presentations to begin our meeting this evening. To get things started, we welcome Mr. Kevin Rice, Executive Director for the Steele Center for Career and Technical Education. Mr. Rice, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Bethel Park School District Board and guests and other attendees. Again, my name is Kevin Rice. I'm very proud to be the Executive Director at Steele Center for Career and Technical Education. As you know, we are your delivery system for career and technical curriculum options for students in grades 10, 11, and 12. I'm very proud to do that. Also, you allow us to borrow one of your esteemed board members, Mrs. Connie Roll, who's our board president. So we thank you for that. I'm just here this evening. I want to use a little bit of your time and appreciate your welcoming me here to do so. Just give you a little update on Steele Center, some of the exciting things that are happening. I'm going to speak briefly. I'm going to draw some attention to some materials that I've distributed in front of you, and then I'm going to invite a couple of our students up here to say a few words about their experiences. As you know, Steele Center currently has 15 programs. We serve the school districts of Southern Allegheny County. Our current enrollment is around 630 students. Students come to us from Bethel Park High School in part to help you meet your obligation to provide high school students with CTE curriculum. We've got a handout, or part of the handout includes information about that. I welcome you to drill deeply into all the information that we've collected about the programs, the offerings, the outcomes, certifications, and I invite you to do so by visiting our website. There you'll find a deep dive into our curriculum options, comings and goings and activities about Steele Center and things. We have some very exciting events coming up in the near future. Tomorrow we'll have our annual NOCTI performance testing, where we invite in and have some 100 business and industry partners that come and serve on as judges for the students from Bethel Park and the other school districts that are taking their end of program assessments. That's going on tomorrow. Coming up shortly in a few weeks, we have our annual job fair, where we have currently 60 employers that have committed and signed on. We're actually having to expand some space for what we originally allocated. So those are all exciting things, and there's a flyer in that packet about that. The next couple things I'll draw your attention to in that packet are Steele Center enrollment and performance data. We've got snapshots in this for you for starting in 2009-10 school year all the way through the end of last school year, relative to our enrollment trends, NOCTI scores, other demographic information about the students that we've educated on your behalf, the percent of seniors. And so there's 2 documents. One is Steele Center general information. The other is specific to the Bethel Park School District. So you can look at that material at your leisure. And finally, in the end of that packet, I offer you just some information from the Department of Education that reminds us all that career and technical education isn't some kind of special privilege, or it's not some kind of option for only some students. All students in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have a right to career and technical education offerings, and we're very proud, and we work really hard to do that on your behalf. So I would love to, again, invite you to visit our website and give you a deeper dive. Briefly, I have 2 students with me that are going to just share a couple of things about their experience. The first is Rachel Yanion. She is a senior in our health assistant program. Briefly, Rachel is one of our student leaders. She's been with us for 3 years. She's very active in our career and technical student organization called Skills USA. She currently serves as the PM session president. She's competed at the state level on behalf of Steele Center and your school district. And academically, I can tell you that she's just recently passed her state boards for the Pennsylvania Nurse Aid Registry examination, and she's a certified CNA at this point. So I'll ask Rachel to come up here for a few minutes.
Thank you, everybody. So as you know, I'm a senior at Bethel Park. I've attended Steel Center for 3 years now. I've been in part of Skills, which is an organization that I personally love. It's another club that's part of Steel Center, and I feel like I've grown with the school as long as I help myself be within the group. And I went to Steel Center because I went through a lot of health issues within my family, and my mother was sick and all the things were happening, and all I knew I wanted to do was help others through either sickness or just degeneration through their life. And I figured, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try it out, and I fell to love it. And I worked for 3 months this year, and I actually got my CNA. I was doubting myself, but Steel Center was there as like a little backup. But now I can leave Bethel Park High School and go straight into the workforce, or even go straight into the workforce and go to school. So I'm very, very happy about that. And also with Steel Center, I was able to go through Skills, like I said. I was a state competitor last year. Sadly, I'm not this year, but I have a delegate representing Steel Center, and being there to actually vote on things and represent Steel Center as a whole. And he already said that I was the PM president, but I just love Steel Center as a whole, and I figured I'd talk to you guys a little bit. Thank you guys for having your attention.
Thanks for sharing.
And also I want to introduce Vinny Capozzi. Vinny is a third-year student as well in 12th grade at Bethel Park High School and attends Steel Center. He's in our diesel technology program. Vinny also is enrolled in our Pennsylvania State Vehicle Inspection Program, and he'll attain that credential prior to graduating here in June. He also has already earned his EPA certification, which enables him to work on the refrigeration of vehicles, trucks, heavy trucks, vehicles, cars, things like that. And Vinny happens to be a 2-time winner of an award in our school that's given out by classmates during our annual February celebration of CTE month as the most supportive fellow student in his class. So I introduce to you Vinny Capozzi.
As he said, Mr. Rice said, I'm Vinny Capozzi. I'm currently a senior at the Park High School, enrolled in medium heavy truck. I decided to choose Steel Center for the medium heavy truck because growing up, all my friends, family, always good at working on vehicles, stuff like that. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. So I went there, a little nervous, but as soon as I went in, it's nice meeting new friends from different school districts. Everyone's nice, and I've learned more than I ever thought I could learn in 3 years from joining a trade. Going into a trade that I didn't think I'd be able to learn as much as I did coming 3 years out. And it really goes to show that if you get into it now, whenever you want to get into it, however you want, you can really get it done and learn. And whenever I graduate, I'm going to go to school to be an electrician, just because I found out it's such an easy way to get into a program just by joining and learning a lot. It's easy. That's about it. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks, Rachel and Vinny. I just want to leave you with one final thought. These students and all the students that attend Steel Center begin to develop skills and have experiences that are going to give them a labor market advantage in the workplace. Vinny talked about making friends from other communities. All students, when they leave Bethel Park School District, are going to have to do that at some point. These young people start doing that early. They also earn those industry credentials. They can go out and become employable. And as well as that, Rachel's one of the students that's planning on going to school after high school. We have, we've broken the mold from the old, VOTEC of the past. The students that attend and graduate Steel Center today, someone keeps forgetting to tell them they're not supposed to go to college because they went to tech, but they go to college anyway. We have students this year that are freshmen at Iowa State University, Waynesburg University, Cal U, and a lot of other post-secondary schools. So students that come to Steel Center, we put them on a pathway to success for both college and career, and we're just happy to do that on your behalf. We would love to have you. If you'd be interested to come visit the school, tour the school. I know we've had you in the past, some members of your school board. We encourage you to do that again. Thank you very much for your generous time this evening.
Thanks so much. Later this evening, the board will be accepting a donation from the Bethel Baseball Boosters for equipment that will enhance our baseball program and specifically Perky Field. The boosters have purchased pitching mound and plate covers, turf for the batting cage, a pitching screen, 2 throw-down mats for the bullpen, and 2 backstop pads. The value of these items total $5,332.70, and the district is greatly appreciative of this generous donation. With us this evening are 3 representatives from the Bethel Baseball Booster Board, Steve Woods, Sharon Coffey, and Michelle Conrad. At this time, I would like to invite all 3 of you up to join me in the front to receive a certificate of appreciation from the board. And we value the partnership that we have through your efforts. Our student athletes have greatly benefited from these items as well as others you've given us in the past. What you've done helps eliminate the need for us to add these items to our operating budget, which is great. I'd like to ask the audience to give these folks a round of applause. It's great to start out with all these wonderful things. And not to be outdone, for our final presentation this evening, we are pleased to welcome several board members from the Bethel Park Education Foundation who are here to provide us with an update on the foundation's activities. Speaking on behalf of the Education Foundation is board president and great friend of the Bethel Park School District, Mr. Andy Amron. Andy, the mic is yours.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back before the school board today, and I want to make sure I have the rest of my board members here, and we have some representatives from many of the schools in the district itself. And what we'll be doing in a brief minute is we're going to update a big check presentation, but instead of giving all the little checks to in the past, right now we have the last couple projects that we've helped fund for the district. And just to recap, the Bethel Park Education Foundation, we're an organization that was started a few years ago to help teachers and students fund the projects that they needed above and beyond what the school district capabilities were. And this is a collaboration between many members of the community, but also a lot of local businesses. And also we've been reaching out to a lot of the alumni of the Bethel Park School District. So with the help of the businesses, the help of the residents, and a tremendous help with the alumni of Bethel Park, we're able to raise money and give it back to the teachers and students of Bethel Park School District to help fund some of these specialty projects that they have. And what we are going to be showing tonight is a check and totaling over $8,000, and this helped fund a project at Ben Franklin for incubators, the Lincoln Elementary School Garden, another project at Ben Franklin for the Autism Acceptance Program, Memorial School for music stands, a Principals in Flight program with Independence Middle School. We helped to restart the forensics program at the high school. So we were working with the forensics at the high school. We have IMS continually trying to help support the Bold and Gold program, which is just such a huge hit at IMS. Also the Washington Garden program, and also William Penn also needed an incubator for their programs. So all these little programs may seem insignificant, but it in no way, shape, or form is small. It's a tremendous asset to the teachers, to the students, and to the district as a whole. So I'm thrilled to death to be on the board for the Education Foundation. We love what we do. We love supporting the teachers and students of this district, and it's not just me. I'm a small part of it. It's my board members. Can the board members join us up here? And would all of you join us? And also the teachers and students that are here who have received some of these generous grants and donations. I'd like to just bring them all up to just show how supportive the Education Foundation is. It's not just something that is helping one small group or one individual. This is a tremendous asset to the district as a whole. And Debbie and Patty, why don't you pull out that little check that's right behind you? And as you can see, I tried to fit a lot of everything on it. I know I probably missed somebody, but that's a big check, but a lot of districts. And Dr. Pasquarella, you're a tremendous asset to this board. We would love you to join us for this picture, because we couldn't do it without your help and support also. So that's pretty much all I have to say. And I know Mr. Minchie brought his little airplane with you. Just so everyone can see, this is what the Principles of Flight program was. This is an after-school activity for the students of Independence Middle School, and it was a way of utilizing all those students with what they do. So I'm going to let Vicki try and get a picture out of this, so good luck.
I know this is going to be like herding cats.
You're fine.
I need a couple rows here. Come on. All right, so people with the check will step
Thank you,
out.
everyone.
All right, everybody else kind of get behind, fill in. Dave, I'm going to put you on the end so you don't hurt anybody with that plane. All right. Oh yeah, we're gonna make this work. Dave, I have to tell you this. I'm gonna move you down here. You're moving the furniture. All right. All right, you guys. All right. Can I ask you just to squish just a smidge? Okay. All right, ready? And play. This is good. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do one more. And I'm going to do one more just because I can. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Dave. Dave.
Really nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, so wonderful to start our meeting out on such great notes. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
So Connie has an addition and I have a correction.
Right.
Under number 3, under personnel. Do you want to say the name first? Yeah, you say the name. For number 3, the football employee to be determined is Brian DeLallo. And then the correction to that that motion is, rather than it saying with the rates and conditions as agreed upon in the teachers' collective bargaining agreement, it should say with the rates and conditions as agreed upon in the memorandum of agreement with the Bethel Park Federation of Teachers.
Anything else on additions or corrections to the agenda? Then I need a motion to adopt the agenda with this addition and correction.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 26, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. I need to announce executive sessions held March 19, 2019 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information, and March 26, 2019 for personnel, other legal matters, and to receive information. Staff report, Mrs. Sutton.
It is my pleasure to share an extraordinary amount, which means many slides, of good news items with you this evening. So without further ado, Bethel Park High School Bethel Park High School students earned 24 awards at the 2019 DECA State Career Development Conference, including 3 first-place awards, 3 second-place awards, 1 third-place award, 5 fourth-place awards, 6 fifth-place awards, 3 sixth-place awards, and 3 medallion awards. Students who finished 4th place or higher are now eligible to compete at the DECA International Conference, which will be held next month in Orlando. The names of all of the winners are before you on the screen, but we would like to highlight first-place winners Tyler Andreas, Mark Figetti, Caleb Shook, Marissa Christensen, and wish all of the students much success as they advance to the international competition. 3 Bethel Park High School sophomores are gaining real-world business experience by working with the Bethel Park Recreation Department to help with their public relations efforts. Julia Casaldi, Amber Simeone, and Michaela Yee have been working hard to spread the word about the rec department programs by creating a Facebook page to reach the adults in the community. Their next step will be to create Instagram and Snapchat pages to reach the students. They used this experience as their DECA State competition project and earned a 2nd place award for their efforts. This year, the Bethel Park High School students in Mr. Shastufsky's Computer Integrated Manufacturing class had the opportunity to work with management from OZ Enterprises to provide the company with some solutions to issues they were facing, including putting together a professional-looking trade show presentation, developing an inventory system, and creating stickers that could be affixed to the sensors they install at their clients, so they will know who to call in case maintenance is needed. The students did a wonderful job presenting. 3 of the students, Ian Materkowski, Daniel Sunick, and Cullen Stewart, had the opportunity to showcase their work at the recent Shasda Student Forum at Baldwin High School. Mr. K describes the work his students did as excellent, professional, and engaging. 2 Bethel Park High School seniors placed 2nd place at the Science Olympiad in the Forensic Science event. Congratulations to Tanya Holbert and Patra Sue. Bethel Park High School forensic team members are finishing up their competition season and gearing up for the state and national competitions. Caleb Shook, Tanush Ball, Christian McLean, Jillian Sullivan, Hannah Gold, and Demetrius Petrinos have all qualified to compete at state and national competitions, and we wish them all the best as they continue to compete against the best in the state and the country. Bethel Park High School students competed against 14 other high schools at the AATG German Day competition and won 9 awards, including 2 first place, 3 second place, and 4 third place awards, which was the most of any school competing in the event. For the 17th consecutive year, a Bethel Park student won the Culture Bowl competition. Congratulations to Lily Wilson for not only finishing in first place in the Culture Bowl, but also capturing first place in the fiction writing competition. Other Culture Bowl winners were Carly Roberts, Rachel Nijinsky, Carrie Ann Tresh, Ella Voskamp, Willow Hernishin, and Caitlin Weard. The Bethel Park High School German Club finished in 2nd place in the Bundesliga Total Soccer Season Fantasy Soccer League and competed in the East Region Finals, which were held last weekend in Washington, D.C. Members of the team were Willow Hernishin, Joshua Leibel, Michael Bostaff, and Colin Downing. The league encompasses 29 teams in 11 states. The Bethel Park team finished first among the 6 competing area schools. This national event is sponsored by the Goethe Institute. Congratulations to Bethel Park High School junior Cooper Shoemaker, who was selected to be a delegate to the Congress of the Future Medical Leaders, which will be held in Massachusetts in June. This program is an honors-only program for students who want to become physicians or go into medical research fields. Cooper was selected based on his academic achievement, leadership potential, and determination to serve humanity in the field of medicine. Bethel Park High School freshman Haley Bell is doing her part for the environment by encouraging Bethel Park residents to turn their old trash cans into rain barrels instead of throwing them into the landfill. She worked with Andy Amrine at EV True Value Hardware to set up a display there, including a poster and brochure for how to build a rain barrel and what supplies would be needed to make one. She's also filmed a segment for BPTV, and she used this project to compete at the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America's State Conference in Seven Springs, where she earned a gold medal and a trip to Anaheim, California, to compete in the FCCLA national competition this summer. Thank you, Haley, for being an environmental ambassador, and good luck at FCCLA Nationals. Haley was not the only Bethel Park student who medaled at FCCLA's state competition. Bethel Park High School and Independence Middle School students brought home 2 gold medals, 5 silver medals, 3 bronze medals. Congratulations to all of our winners, and especially to gold medalists Haley Bell and Lexi Dorfner, who both qualified to compete at FCCLA Nationals. Additionally, the IMS FCCLA Club received the chapter award for having the largest percentage increase in membership at the middle school level in the state. The Rotary Club of Bethel Park named Bethel Park High School senior Jerry Varghese its March Student of the Month. Each month, the Rotary recognizes a Bethel Park High School student for outstanding commitment to school and/or community. Jerry was recognized for his involvement in several school activities, his leadership with student government, National Honor Society, and the Science Club, his volunteer work at the Carnegie Science Center, and his participation in the prestigious Governor's School for the Sciences at the Carnegie Mellon University last summer. Bethel Park High School students in Ms. Potts' sewing class and the art club are doing their part to make Pittsburgh stronger than hate by making hearts for the Pittsburgh Homemade Hearts Project. The program was started as a response to the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue last November, and the students either sewed small hearts or made them out of materials such as wood, wire, and paper mache, and donated them to the Pittsburgh Knitting and Crochet Festival for random distribution all around the Pittsburgh area. Those who find the hearts can either keep them or pass them on. Congratulations to Bethel Park High School musicians Kobe Coleman, Roma Isel, Elijah Nice, Connor Remington, and Janelle Wu, who successfully auditioned and were selected to perform in the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association's Region Orchestra Concert. 6 Bethel Park High School musicians were selected to play in the PMEA Region Band Concert. Congratulations to Sarah Bucci, Roma Isel, Elijah Nice, Connor Remington, Jackson Stewart, and Teresa Stolpa. We also want to congratulate the 4 Bethel Park High School musicians who made it all the way to the all-state orchestra level. Congratulations to Kobe Coleman, Elijah Nice, Connor Remington, and Janelle Wu, who will perform at the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association State Conference, which will be held in Pittsburgh next month. 12 Bethel Park High School vocalists performed at Heinz Hall with the Pittsburgh Symphony during their A Night at the Oscars Pops concert. They were among a group of 61 vocalists performing as the Hamlish Page Student Choir, which was comprised of students from 6 area high schools, 2 universities, and the Junior Mendelssohn Choir. Congratulations to Andrew Fullerton, Molly Hoffman, Abby Carrick, Anthony Lucidi, Caitlin Marcovecchio, Colin McCormick, Brian Pauley, Sarah Pellis, Maddie Podsadley, Macy Runco, Madison Scheidler, and Cameron Silman. Our winter sports teams recently concluded successful seasons. As you know from last month, our varsity competitive cheerleaders won the WPIAL championship for the 2nd straight year and the state championship for the 2nd time in the past 3 years. Our girls indoor track team finished in 3rd place at the TSTCA championships with 2 gold medals, 3 4th place finishes, and a 7th place finish. 2 students qualified for the state championships, where Emily Carter earned a silver medal and qualified for the national championships, where she finished in 7th place. Our girls basketball team were WPIAL semifinalists and advanced to the 2nd round of the state playoffs. Our wrestlers did well also, with 5 wrestlers qualifying for the WPIAL championships and 1 wrestler, Luke Montgomery, qualifying for the state championships, where he finished in 7th place. 10 swimmers qualified for the WPIAL championships, and Paul Collar finished in 8th place. Sadie Coda finished in 4th place at the WPIAL Diving Championships and competed at states. The rifle team finished in 5th place at the WPIAL Team Championships with 3 shooters named to the all-Whippeal tournament team. Aaron Rutherford finished in 11th place at the Individual Rifle Championships and qualified to compete in the state championships. The ice hockey team advanced to the Penguin Cup semifinals. Our roller hockey teams also had great seasons, with the elementary team advancing to the championship round, the JV team advancing to the quarterfinals, and the varsity playing in the semifinals. Congratulations to all of our winter sports athletes, and good luck to our spring sports athletes. For the 19th year, the Bethel Park High School varsity hockey team spent a morning at the YMCA skating with our students from Washington and Neil Armstrong, receiving adaptive physical education. It was a great morning of forming friendships and sharing a love of physical activity. Following the skate, everyone enjoyed a lunch together. The adapted PE students showed their appreciation to the hockey team by making banners to help cheer the team on during the Penguin Cup playoffs. This great event is organized by teacher Linda Graney and hockey coach Jim McVeigh. Independence Middle School 8th grader Matthew Ruffing received a Certificate of Excellence from the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards program, which means that he was among the top 10% of Pennsylvania applicants to this program, which recognizes students for their commitment to volunteerism. Matthew was recognized for the work he does to send letters and packages to American servicemen and women who were stationed overseas. In addition to a certificate from Prudential, he also received a letter of congratulations from the President. 33 teams competed in this year's Battle of the Books at Neil Armstrong Middle School, with the Wizarding Readers team winning the battle. Congratulations to Ryan Burns, Opie Egbebe, Daniel Richards, and John Richards. The students read 5 books in preparation for this competition and were quizzed on their knowledge of the books. Awards were also given for the top 3 battle teams, the top 3 posters, and the top 3 costumes. It's a great evening, and everyone is a winner because they chose to read. Neil Armstrong Middle School 5th grade students on Team Apollo are joining teachers Mrs. Cupp and Mrs. Polis in the hashtag Be the Kind Kid Kindness movement. The students have promised to spread kindness at Neil Armstrong, the community, and the world through the simple message, Be the Kind Kid. Every Wednesday, the students wear their Be the Kind Kid t-shirt to school to remind others to be the kid who does the right thing by being nice and kind. They can't wait to start their own mission of kindness, and we are proud of their initiative. This year, 41 of our students in the Elementary Gifted Support Program participated in the annual Elementary Gifted Expo at Lincoln Elementary School. This year's theme was Business Fair and Entrepreneurial Expo, and the students were tasked with developing a business, creating a display board and oral presentation, as well as brochures and business cards. At the expo, they enthusiastically shared their business plans with the attendees. 3 of the students have already taken on the role of entrepreneurs and showcased their existing businesses. Businesses were varied and included bakeries, pottery, high-tech, dog sitting, and soap making. The students did a great job. As we mentioned last month, all 5 Bethel Park elementary schools are now offering evening family learning opportunities for parents and students to come back to school one night a week and enjoy a meal together before embarking on some fun, hands-on STEAM activities, thanks to a partnership with WQED and PBS. Last month, we saw Franklin's program. This month, Washington and Memorial began their coding program using PBS's Scratch Junior. Lincoln has been running this program for a few years now, and this year they were supposed to pilot a new aeronautics program, but PBS said the program wasn't ready to go yet, so Lincoln teachers Denise Pazikanik and Dawn Dowds wrote their own curriculum centered around the Lincoln Community Garden, and the program went on, with students and parents making fun things such as salsa and butterfly feeders. PBS is excited about the garden-themed curriculum and is now planning to adopt this as one of their units that they will offer in the future to schools all across the country. Franklin fourth graders in Mrs. Mucci's room celebrated a random act of kindness week by doing something kind every day of the week, including writing an email to either their parents or a teacher to thank them for being awesome, writing positive messages for noontime aides and bus drivers, drawing a picture for their postal carriers, drawing a picture and delivering it to a nursing home, and leaving sticky notes around the school with positive messages on it. Great job. A group of 6 Memorial Elementary students formed an Odyssey of the Mind team for the first time in school history, finished in second place at the local Odyssey of the Mind competition, and qualified to compete at the state Odyssey of the Mind competition next month in the Poconos. For the state competition, the students accepted a challenge where they had to build a vehicle that could maneuver them through a series of rescues without their feet touching the floor. Congratulations and good luck to Garrett Lang, Braylon Muldoon, Michael Ryan Blessing, Jackson Hornfeck, Carolyn Murphy, and Cecilia Roberts. Washington second grade students participated in a STEAM cave art project. Art teacher, Mrs. Mittner, and librarian, Mrs. Manella, taught the students about cave art, and then they made their own modern-day cave art. Mrs. Mittner and Mrs. Manella built a cave out of butcher paper in the library, hung the students' artwork in the cave, and then the students had the opportunity to view their artwork in the cave with a flashlight. This was definitely the highlight of this year's Art and Science Fair at Washington. And we will end our report this month with our usual slide reminding everyone about the district's vision for the 2018-19 school year, Innovative Mindsets. I'm sure you can pick out all of the examples of this vision coming to life through the presentation. And that concludes the report for this evening. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. What wonderful things you're doing. Student government.
Hi, so in terms of projects SGA is working on right now, we have 2 things going on. The first is implementing charging stations in the high school, and that's something that just got approved. So we're going to be implementing them in the cafeteria, and there'll be places for students to go charge their phones or Chromebooks or any other electronic devices that need power. And then our second project that we're trying to get implemented is water bottle filling stations at the water fountains in the high school. So essentially this will decrease plastic usage, decrease the waste that we create, and just overall make things easier for students so that they can be using reusable bottles as opposed to plastic ones every day or filling it at home. And then in terms of events, SGA is beginning its planning on Staff App Week, which will take place at the beginning of May. Our theme this year is going to be Pittsburgh Hometown. So we'll have basically anyone working any type of staff in the high school will be getting something out of it. We're going to have a luncheon for all the teachers, a luncheon for the lunch ladies. We'll be giving things to the crossing guards and all the bus drivers. Basically everybody in the high school and even beyond is going to be getting something out of it. It's always something that they really love, so we're looking forward to doing that this year. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good ideas. PTA, PTO Council.
Okay, on behalf of our PTOs and our PTA, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln students participated in Lots of Socks Day on March 20th to mark World Down Syndrome Day. A Spirit Night will be held on March 26th at Campides Pizza in Bethel Park from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. A PTO meeting was held on March 8th. The PTO voted to approve $1,000 toward the purchase of additional raised beds for the Lincoln Garden. All the produce grown in the garden is donated to the Shim Food Pantry. Applications for 2 $500 Abraham Lincoln Elementary Awards for Higher Education to former Lincoln students graduating from Bethel Park High School are now being accepted. From Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin's March was packed with reading and fun. They concluded their readathon last week. Thanks to all who participated in the readathon, they ended up with 59,581 minutes read and $3,043 raised. Top money and minutes per class have been invited to a Decorate Your Own Cookie event on March 29th at the school. The Tape a Teacher to the Wall and Pie in a Teacher's Face assembly was held for students last Friday afternoon in school. On March 22nd, they hosted a family fun bingo night with baskets donated by families. And on March 28th, they have a Rita's Spirit Night scheduled And lastly, they are working on the Ben Franklin PTO scholarship. George Washington. George Washington concluded their Jump Rope for Heart event on March 8th and raised $4,810 for the American Heart Association. Parents were able to check out the students' amazing art projects and cool science experiments during the Art and Science Fair on March 8th. Students really enjoyed the cool cave-like display of second graders' art projects in the library. George Washington students are busy rehearsing their talents for the 15th annual talent show, scheduled for April 5th at Independence Middle School. The PTO is going to again provide snacks for the students for the testing weeks, and they are also organizing the staff and student appreciation weeks for the end of April, beginning of May. Memorial. Memorial finished February with Spiritware and Sarah's Spring Candy fundraisers. During March, Memorial had a Chick-fil-A Spirit Day and spring photos with Life Touch, and the fourth graders will have their social on Friday. Memorial Movers running practices will begin in April and end with the Pittsburgh Kids Marathon. Memorial will also be hosting their spring Scholastic Book Fair and participating in the Autism Awareness Coin Drive in April. May is Brain Cancer Awareness Month. Detailed plans are in the works to honor Sean Rovers, a former Memorial student with brain cancer, and his plans to give back with his Smiles for Sean charity, which provides pick-me-ups for children battling cancer at Children's Hospital. William Penn. William Penn has just begun their annual readathon fundraiser that runs through April 1st. In March, they enjoyed the WTAE Project Bundle Up Weather Assembly and donated $500 to the cause. The kids were even featured on the 5 o'clock news. They just hosted their kindergarten registration and are looking forward to their Glow Party School Ice Cream Social on April 12th. PTO is busy planning their annual fundraiser, selling tickets to this year's Mom Prom, which will take place at Bethel Park Community Center on May 4th. And finally, Neil Armstrong. Field trip season is in full swing at NAMS. Each team teacher contacts the PTO to request funds for their approved enrichment field trip. The PTO also recently paid for Speaker Ryan from Shape the Sky. NAMS is currently fundraising through a spring Spiritware sale, upcoming ice skating night, upcoming Glow Spring Social, school store, and popcorn Fridays. Upcoming events in which funds will be applied include 5th and 6th grade fun days, in addition to the school field trips. And finally, the NAMS PTO is seeking board members for the 2019-20 school year, as 4 out of 5 current board members' children will be moving on to IMS.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. Solicitor's report? Any committee reports? Mrs. Gobus, do you have something to report?
Yeah, I have two. One from the Recreation Department. At this time, the Recreation Department is having a challenge grant available to assist in improving additions to our parks and recreation facilities in our community. So it's a matching grant. It has to be applied for, and it has a goal of making our community a better place. And if your organization has plans or a project you're working on to enhance our parks, recreation facilities, or a new structure, the Recreation Department would like you to apply for the challenge grant, which means it would match the funds that you raise in order to improve one of the local parks. And so you can find that challenge grant and the application on the Recreation website. If you're interested or you have an organization that might be interested in that. And then my second committee that I'm on as a liaison with the district is the Shade Tree Commission, and it's recently been formed in order to provide trees and advice and expert opinion and so forth on planting trees both in our parks around the community and also at our schools. So one of the items on the agenda tonight is to accept a donation of trees from the Shade Tree Commission. And those trees, 20 trees, are going to be planted by the students over at Neil Armstrong along the walkway that connects Boyer and Murray Avenue. And so the whole idea is to create better aesthetics in the community, shade, provide, some of the trees will be not in that particular place, but other places will provide a buffer between a park and a residential area. Also, they'll be used for stormwater management and slope stabilization. So we're very excited that the commission wants to partner with us, hopefully on a yearly basis with a lot of planning and contact with Mr. Keith so that we can coordinate this, but that progressively each of our schools should be able to benefit from the planting of these trees in places that would help us and provide shade in different places also.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Rule, do you have anything?
I'll try.
Yeah, she
I
doesn't have
attended the Pathfinder meeting, and all schools have paid their monies so they can get a new roof. Second one, Shasta had its student exhibit. We had 95 students participate. Their projects were just really great. And the AIU, the new special education director, announced that his goal will be to have all of our special education centers with a consistent curricula, and Pathfinder will be one of them. So that's a good goal, and we're really pleased with that. Our fourth graders from Bethel Park were invited to the residence at Logan, and 100 were invited, 60 of them made it, and it's amazing what 7 months of string teaching can provide. They were really great. And the last thing, the Chamber and the Bethel Park business owners are going to have Bethel Park's first job fair on May 16th. We'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Any public comments on agenda items this evening? Agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move into business items. Mrs. Dobus, would you take curriculum for me this evening?
Sure. There are 3 items under curriculum. Are there any items that anyone wants to be held out?
Yes, number 1, please.
Number 1?
Yes.
Any others? Okay, I would like to move under curriculum number 2, professional development, and also the high school elective courses number 3.
Second.
Items 2 and 3 under curriculum have been moved by Mrs. Dobus and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on either of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Mrs. Dobus.
I'd like to move under the curriculum committee, number 1, approve the Orton Gillingham training.
Second.
Item 1 under curriculum has been moved by Mrs. Dobus and seconded by Mr. Nagel. Any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the training for one individual is a great step in the right direction. I think we need to continue investigating the need with the large percentage of the public that is affected by dyslexia, for more screening in kindergarten and first grade, as well as more staff to be trained in the future.
And also possibly looking at other programs as well, I think that
Yeah.
was brought up. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8-0. Personnel Committee and Mrs. Rule.
Okay, there are 12 items under personnel. Are there any that anyone would like to have held out?
I'd like to have 6A held out.
6A.
I would also like to have 8A3.
8,
A3
H3,
A3.
and 11, please.
Item 11. Okay, I move
And I would like to hold out item 3.
item 3. Okay. I move item 1,
Oh,
which
I'm
is
sorry,
approved.
I want all of 6 held out.
Take it line item by line item.
All of 6? Again.
All of 6.
So it's 6A, B.
It's,
Right.
yeah, split up A and B.
Anything else? Okay. I move that we approve item 1, which is the approval of extra duty responsibility program 2018-19. Item 2, we're holding 3. Item 4, acceptance of resignation. Item 5, individual memorandum of agreement with the Bethel Park Federation of Teachers. Item 7, change of assignment. Item 8, appointment of personnel, except for, hold on, item 8A3. Item 9, Act 93 agreement. 10, approval of paid intern. And 12, approval of substitutes.
Second.
Items 1 and 2, 4 and 5, 7, 8A, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 12 under personnel have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any discussion on these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. Mrs. Rule.
Okay, back to item 3 as amended.
I need a second on that
Second.
item. Thank you. Item 3 as amended has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. All in favor of this item say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With that movement, we have just appointed Mr. Brian DeLello as our new head varsity football coach, and we want to congratulate him. And the microphone is yours for your first rah-rah speech as the new varsity.
I don't know how rah-rah it'll be, but it'll be brief.
Well, you wore your Bethel Park tie.
I did. First, I'd like to thank the committee, Dr. Pascarilla, Dr. Jan Santi, Mr. Karazzi, Mr. Sloan, I don't know if Mr. Valano's here, but for all the time and energy and effort they put into the selection process. You know, it was lengthy, probably more lengthy than I would have liked. I got anxious, but I really want to thank you for everything that you did in terms of the consideration of myself and the other candidates. I really want to thank the board for fostering an environment where not only academics are valued, but the arts and athletics are valued. It makes Bethel Park a special place. It means a lot to a lot of people. So I want to thank you guys for what you do in terms of valuing athletics and the arts in addition to academics. I'd like to thank my family, my wife and my father are here. You know, especially my wife. Without her, this wouldn't be possible. You know, she carries a heavy load at home, and I really appreciate it. And then I'd like to thank Coach Matheny, all of the coaches and players over the last 25 years that have built a tradition that has set the bar very high and created a job where it's an honor to have this job. And I'm really, really looking forward to representing this community and getting to work. So thank you to everybody involved.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Okay, item 6, approval of staffing changes.
Second.
Items 6, A and B have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any discussion on these items?
Yes, I just want to voice my opposition to the larger elementary school class sizes that we've been fostering. I've continuously stated that I think the class sizes in some areas or in some schools are too large for kindergarten through 3rd grade. And I also want to voice my concern over lack of parity between the elementary schools leading into our middle schools.
Any other discussion on this item?
I agree with Mr. Nagel, and I've been thinking about this a lot this last week. And I understand, as a board, we have recognized that our population has decreased, and we've been talking about this term right-sizing the district. And I agree with that, but when it comes to numbers of students in classes, I hesitate because as a former teacher, I know the difference in a classroom of 16 versus a classroom of 26. It makes a huge difference. And so I am going to vote no on this particular item.
Thank you, we're starting to bring. Any other discussion of this item?
Yeah, Dr. Pascarella, looking at the chart that you gave us, it's my understanding if we don't make these moves, we would result in a class in Washington in the first grade, 2 classes of 27, and it would result in classes of, in the 3rd grade at Lincoln, 2 classes of 30, actually 1 of 30, 1 of 29, and in Washington, 2 classes of 31. Is that correct reading of that?
I was trying to follow you on that, but I think what you're saying is if we don't add the positions that we're opening at Washington Elementary in grade 1,
In Lincoln, in Washington, in grade 3, it would result in excessively high class rates.
that obviously you would be dividing the total number by 2 as opposed to by 3. So yeah, that would be much higher.
I'd like to ask the solicitor a question. Since I had just asked for A to be held out, can we vote on A and B separately?
You can vote on A and B separately.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, to answer your question, these are estimated enrollment numbers, but I would say that yes, they would be much higher if you did not, in those specific grades that you mentioned, if we don't open the positions there.
So the net result of all this is to better balance the class size between the grades and between the schools.
That's the goal.
For those of you who weren't here at the last meeting, we did talk about maybe the time has come that we might have to look at redistricting. Because, you look at William Penn and you have less than 200 students in that school. So we may have to start looking at redistricting, and that's always on the table. We've done it a couple of times before. It may be time again.
So we spent a lot of time talking about this, probably one of the longest topics we ever discussed in the committee being last time. And, we don't spend a lot of time looking at research, in terms of optimum class sizes. So I take a look at how do we compare against other leading districts around us. And, over the last few years, I've taken a hard look at employment levels across different grade levels across Peters, Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, and others around us. And we've had an overinvestment because of declining student population in the secondary levels relative to other districts. But when I look at the elementary schools, we're in line, but yet from a facility standpoint, we're at a disadvantage because we have, many more neighborhood schools than our other districts. So I think that, this is I've thought about this topic a lot this week, and the problem is more than just these 2 positions. It really, I think as a board, we need to adopt what is our target classroom size. Because right now, last week, I think the only thing we talked about was we're limited by the teacher contract. Okay, that's the only thing I heard last week. And I don't think that's the right answer. But it's a lot bigger issue than just these 2 positions. But from an overall staffing, student to teacher ratio at the elementary level, we're in line. I think we actually, because of the number of schools, we need to probably invest in more in the elementary level.
Barry, I just looked that up over the last couple of days. I forgot to bring my sheet with me. But if you look at the overall student-to-teacher ratio of Belfels Elementary Schools, it's in the mid-12s. Mount Lebanon is in the mid-14s, and both Peters Township and Upper St. Clair in the 16th. We have a better student-to-teacher ratio in our elementary schools than any of the elite surrounding school districts. And if you go to some of the other school districts that aren't as good, we're much better.
Point of clarification, is that student-to-teacher ratios or student-to-staff ratios?
Student-to-teacher ratio. No. When you start talking about a student-to-teacher ratio of 12.8 or 12.6, I forget which one we are, it's one of those two. That doesn't mean you have class sizes of 12.8 because not every teacher is teaching every time. You have the art teacher who is over there and the students travel from one class to another. But in terms of staffing, we actually have more staffing per student than any of the surrounding school districts.
We do overall at the elementary level.
Even at the elementary level. I look specifically at the elementary level.
We're we're closer to our neighboring districts at the elementary level, and the number of neighborhood schools we have, it honestly puts us at a disadvantage compared to them to maintain equivalent class sizes.
Yeah, we are.
Or consistent class sizes.
With 5 schools, that makes it tough. We have. Yeah. I did some studies too, and there's a lot of things I could talk about. Talk about some things. I don't know how much we need to go into, but right now, if we look at how many kids we have in our school, we have 1,361 grade school kids over the 5 different elementaries. And if you look at the number of just teachers, now this is not counting teacher aides and paras and all this, we have 66 teachers. So if we had one big school like Mount Lebanon and some of these other districts have the luxury of doing, and I've been told by these other districts, they say that some of these, we have a lot more schools than they do, and that makes us at a disadvantage. But that would only come out to about a 20 student per teacher ratio, and again, not counting any aides and paras and all the other stuff, and gym teachers. So this is one of our big disadvantages, and our cost is higher than most districts. You know, we have a higher budget, and 80% of our budget's already going into administration. That only leaves 20% for us to do things like we did with Chromebooks, the buses. I mean, there's a whole list of things that we're trying to work with, and so we have to be very careful when we talk about extra teachers because we are at a disadvantage. So maybe redistricting is something that we've talked about many times, but maybe this is a way to go and look at again. I don't,
So as a short-term solution to a larger problem, because we can't redistrict this week, we can't redistrict this year. As a short-term solution to a longer-term problem, would we be able in the near term maybe say create a policy or a procedure where we add an aide to any class that's over 20 from kindergarten through 3rd to effectively give the teachers support and reduce the class sizes in these critical foundational grades?
Well, let me say this. I mean, we know how over the years the class size has been doing this, okay, so fine. We can justify it. I mean, there's arguments on both sides. One says a smaller class size will allow the teacher to spend more time with each student. But then there's also studies that I can go for, I saw it, they said that bigger class sizes allow for kids to ask more questions and other kids listen to it. There's camaraderie, there's things like, let's see if I have any notes on that there too, but, better team building, confidence, things like that. And, so there's 2 sides to that coin, but let's say that now if we have an aide, is that because we need it because of it being special needs or just an aide because of magic number 20?
No, a general education
because the
aide.
contract, the teachers all told us, and I mean, I'm not mastermind here, but I know when the contract was agreed on, the teachers said that 25 was a high-end number. That was supposedly good. So if we had 24, 23, that was supposedly, based on the fact of how the contract was worked out, that was going to be good. They would be able to do their job with 23 kids in the class. And then we have a parent that's asking us right now to go and take a class of, I think it's 42, I'm sorry, yeah, 42, and divide it. There's 2 classes for 42, and they want it to be divided into 3. That gives us 13, 14, and 14 in a class for that particular grade. I mean, I don't know where it ends, but I mean, there's always somebody that wants, well, we should only have 13 in a class, we should have 14. You know what I mean?
Again, I understand this is a long-term problem. We need to look at all kinds of different options to address it long-term. But in the short term, from every study that I've seen, and if you have studies that show different between K and third, the optimal class sizes range anywhere in these studies between 15 students to 21 students. So what I'm asking is for a short-term solution, would we be able to entertain the idea of setting a threshold of, say, 20 students, and then we add an aide to help reduce the workload and give the teacher a little more time to assist the students who need a little more help, a little more instruction?
Well, I think you're going to be facing this problem because if you look at where your elementary schools are located, they're located from the middle of Bethel Park to the southern end, or where all of our elementaries are. You have one way out of Cool Springs. The north end of town has none. So those students are split between Ben Franklin Memorial, which have the two largest groups. That's because we don't have any schools at our end of town. So you have to look at that whole big picture.
Right.
So it's not going to be solved, you know, the way you have to look at how you're going to service the whole district.
And I am looking at that, and that's kind of what I'm saying is those students in those larger population schools are at a disadvantage to the other ones. So I'm trying to look at short-term solutions for a long-term problem to give us time to look at long-term solutions. That's kind of what I'm getting at with the idea of aids.
Ken, I took some time to look into some of the research, and it indicated that reducing class size to about 14 does have some benefits, especially in the K through 3. But if you read a little bit further, it says that most of the benefit occurred in schools of the very poorest school districts with a much lesser effect in the more affluent school districts. Furthermore, the study that I looked at said that reducing class size from 22 to 14 only resulted in a 6% increase in performance. Now, if we were to try and reduce our class sizes to 14, it would require hiring at least one teacher for every grade in every elementary school, which would be about 20 teachers. That'd cost us $2 million a year right there, just to increase teachers' cost.
Again, I kind of set the arbitrary threshold of 20, not 14. And we're talking about class sizes of 26, 23. I mean, my daughter's in a class that was 26, and she's now in 25 because one person moved out. We're not talking about from 20 to 14.
And my grandson's in the same class, and
yes.
It doesn't seem like it's a problem.
And I'll use the anecdotal story that I used last week when my daughter brought this up to me, and I asked her how it affected her having that many people in her class, and she said, well, Dad, I'm okay. But, you know, the teacher takes a little more time because some people need a little more help with things, and sometimes we take 2 days to go over something, and I kind of get bored sometimes. You know, that's just an anecdotal situation from a second grader. I see that as being very aware of a second grader of a problem or a potential problem in classrooms across our district that I'm using to ask you guys to entertain the idea to give these teachers with larger classrooms a little more help to help keep things flowing, help the kids who do need a little extra instruction, and to help balance this short term while we look at what we need to do long term because of the population shifts.
I think that's a whole other discussion item that needs to be more information brought to us. I need to know what is that aide going to be able to do for that classroom, exactly what are their duties going to be that's going to alleviate the teacher from teaching, or exactly what is that going to help, or how are they going to be used?
But one thing, I mean, we're talking about a lot of tactics, okay, and that's kind of a tactical solution to the immediate problem, and, you know, not, you know, moving these teachers around is another tactical solution to a short-term problem. But, you know, somehow as a board, we have to have a mechanism to evaluate this holistically. these are short-term tactics. Medium term is redistricting. I think it's going to become essential to make sure that we can deliver the same consistent, class size and educational benefit and experience to all students in the district. And I think that the longer-term plan involves facilities. Do we need to look at consolidating facilities? Because from a management, from an operational standpoint, we've heard a lot from the public that, smaller class sizes, consistent class sizes are a high priority. Well, that may redirect our facilities plan for the long term. So somehow as a board, we have to have a way to look at this more strategically and not, issue by issue as it comes up. And so as long as I've been on the board, I haven't seen what that process is, how we, commission something that's a little bit more strategic.
I would just reiterate the comment I made last week, that that's totally the board's decision whether they want to go down that direction and explore it. It would probably constitute facilities-wise, some kind of agency or third party to come in to do that. Personally, I've said it before, I think there's a lot of benefits in neighborhood schools. I think parents like neighborhood schools. It's been my opinion. I've visited these neighborhood schools constantly. I know the class sizes won't always be exactly even, but I would, and I know that's a goal, but I would really caution from my own perspective as the superintendent, until you absolutely have to, trying to dismantle the neighborhood schools and really make sure that that is what the parents want. I'm a believer in the neighborhood schools. I've seen the benefit as you see the kids go K to 4 in our neighborhood schools. And I think if you can afford it, and I think if we continue to be fiscally responsible and educationally sound, we can continue to afford to have neighborhood schools into the future. I think the buildings underneath, with Mr. Keith, Mr. Karazzi, Mr. Kramer, we've done a lot of work on those buildings to continue to update those and make those facilities more than up to par. And I just want to make sure I reiterate that I'm not sure. I can't speak on the entire public, to your point. But I would just say that I think a long-range plan could also be, how do we look at these types of things and how important are they to the constituents? Because I would say that from the superintendent's point of view, I've heard a lot of positives in my experience and time being here about how much we love our neighborhood schools and what they do.
Yeah, just for the record, I also like the neighborhood schools. My kids went through them. But as we went through this discussion, we had a lot of input from people. I think as a board, we have to forget what we like and take a look at, the priorities we hear from the community and say, how do we achieve, the goals and priorities that everybody has.
Well, I would suggest then we have a curriculum committee meeting to ask our administration to bring us more information regarding these short-term objectives, such as what would it look like, how many aides would it be, what would the aides' responsibilities be, how would that plan be, and maybe if they, as administration, have another plan with which to look at these slightly imbalanced numbers. I don't see a huge difference.
I'm sorry, but we do know that each teacher gets a certain amount of instructional aid hours currently. And I know that's not specifically what you're saying, but I did want to make note of that. I also feel that, this may be a bit unpopular, but I do feel those classroom sizes are both manageable and appropriate to conduct an excellent, education for our kids. If I didn't feel that, I would tell you, to be honest with you, I think you should hire, or we need to transition other people. I feel that those numbers, I understand there's studies on both sides, and I'm not trying to sway your opinion. Each person's entitled to it. But I will indicate that if I felt that those numbers were too high, I would be making a different recommendation or looking at other staff available to us in the district, whether that's from the secondary level or within our own system.
And that's why we work on it contractually as well. That's why it is part of the teacher's contract, that we agree with the teachers union when we set those numbers that we work around.
The other comment that I'd like to make is I can't imagine in today's world where there's such an emphasis on science and math that we can just eliminate 2 science teaching positions at the high school.
So I would just make a comment to say that, we look at the total number of sections that we need, number one, and also we look at our current staff. Some people have, they're dual certified, they have more than one certification, and through the union process doesn't necessarily mean that there'll be two full sections worth of teachers eliminated. We could use folks that are currently teaching other subjects that are certified to do that and are qualified to do that.
And this doesn't mean that science and math are being eliminated or anything like that, right?
No.
No. Let me add something to the audience here, to all you, because I don't think you have numbers like we do here. And just to show some perspective of what we're looking at, if we just take Memorial and Franklin as an example, both have 3 classes. In Memorial, they have 19, 19, 18. In Franklin, they have 23, 20, 23. So now we're getting into this over 20 realm here. But now what do? Do you go and say, well, do you take Franklin and try to make it a 4th class, which then you're going to have like 8 or 10 or stuff like that? No, that's not feasible. That's not. So we're leaving it at the 23, 20, and 23, and that's sort of, but if we had one big school, then you could just take all the kids, divide it up, and each class would be pretty much even, but that's not what I'm not recommending this. So I'm just saying that that was an option that we, like, Mr. Christensen mentioned that we all were talking about and hearing it from the audience, the citizens. I don't want to say audience, but everybody's Bethel Park citizens is really what it is. And so this is what we're dealing with. Now, let me ask, if we approve all this tonight, that doesn't mean that we can't go and, still continue looking at it, like Mr. Nagel saying about the aides and things like that, and other options, and bringing up to the table the unfavorable redistricting, whatever else, but we need to get a plan going forward to help minimize this kind of imbalance that takes place, but it's out of our control because we can't control kids going to a certain school, and when you get this imbalance, like I just mentioned there, 23 versus 17, and that's in 2 different schools, we can still bring it up, right? So if we vote on this tonight, that's still an issue that we can bring up next meeting even if we want, right?
I think you can bring up any issue you want
Right.
at any time.
Okay.
But as I said,
Right.
I think we need to have a subcommittee meeting, perhaps
Right.
curriculum,
Needs
and
another-
advise our administrators to bring us some further information. But I think at this time, why we were hoping to accomplish this is so that the positions can be disseminated and teachers would know where they're teaching
Right.
far
To get things
sooner
in motion
than
now, right. I got
the
it.
summer or last minute assignments and things like that. I think it allows for that to occur in a better
And my
order.
last comment is just to thank everybody. I don't know who all's here that send emails, but we got, different emails and phone calls, things like that, and all this input was definitely being, used in the decision-making on this year, so, but it's not an easy thing.
And again, I would like to say, if we leave things stand the way they are and don't make any of these moves, we're going to be left with 3 classes with 30 people, one with 29, and a couple other with some 26, 27s that don't have to be. So
at the moment, this is,
yep.
yeah, right.
All right.
Well, the motion's
been made. I'm just going to
and
separate it.
seconded.
I'll just call for the.
Call the question.
You're going to separate it A and B. Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to ask us to vote on, all in favor on 6A, closing the positions at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Can we have a roll call vote in that?
5-3.
So the motion passes 5-3. Then I would ask for a
Can we have?
vote on item 6B, opening the 3 positions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8-0. Mrs.
Okay,
Roll, we're
the
back
next
to
one
you
is A3.
on 8A3. I need a second.
Second.
Item 8A3 has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions regarding this item?
I'd just like to say that I'm glad that we're finally getting down to the point where we're only looking at one part-time special education paraprofessional, but I still don't think the part-time is fulfilling the needs of the district.
Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That carries 7 to
Okay.
1.
Item 11, increase of daily rate for super substitute teachers.
Second.
Item 11, under Personnel, has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, I thought maybe some of the audience wasn't sure exactly what a super substitute was, and I thought maybe Dr. Pascarella could explain it a little bit better to the audience.
So the district currently utilizes a third party to acquire and fill substitutes. And one thing that they do offer to have some consistency is a super sub that would report to a building and be utilized first in that building or be utilized across the other buildings.
All in favor of this item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8 to 0. Facilities and Services Committee and Mr. Workmeister.
Okay, and Mrs. Cook, under Facilities and Services Committee, there is only one item, so I guess I don't need to ask if it needs to be held out, right? So, all right.
I need a second.
Second.
Item 1 under Facilities and Services has been moved by Mr. Workmeister and seconded by Mr. Nagel. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8 to 0.
We didn't get to, I thought I was going to get to name what that title was when I brought it up. It's just the approval of the upgrading the fire alarm system at the administration building. I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just for the
I guess I
record.
read it. I didn't realize
Yeah.
you didn't say it. Sorry. Finance Committee and Mr. Amidits.
This evening, we have 14 items under the Finance Committee. Would anybody want any of these held out for discussion? Hearing none, I move all 14 items. Number 1 being the March 2019 salaries and bills. Number 2 being the February 2019 financial report. Number 3, budgetary transfers. Number 4, adoption of the Allegheny Intermediary Unit Resolution. Number 5, Allegheny Intermediary Unit Program of Service Budget. Number 6, the acceptance of the donation. Number 7, purchase of camera systems for buses. Number 8, memorandum of understanding with the Bethel Park Police Department. Number 9, awarding of wireless access points mini bid with the E-rate. Number 10, purchase of logging level license. Number 11, lease agreement with Lewis Johnson Learning and Child Care Center Incorporated. Number 12, items declared unused and necessary. Number 13, approval of a tax settlement. And number 14, the acceptance of the donation.
Second.
Items 1 through 14 under Finance Committee have been moved by Mr. Amidits and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any discussion on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8 to 0. Policy Committee and Mr. Means.
We have one item under the Policy Committee, and that's policy revisions, third and final readings. And that includes item or policy 006 for meetings, policy 236 student assistant program, policy 707 use of school facilities, policy 904 public attendance at school events, and then the attachment for policy 904. And I would like to, it doesn't say that, I'd like to move those be approved.
Second.
Thank you. Item 1 under Policy Committee has been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Dobus. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries 8 to 0. We have a discussion item, Dr. Pascarella, on bullying and cyberbullying prevention.
So this, yes, this was something that was requested by the board just to give a brief overview of some of the bullying and cyberbullying prevention that's going on in the school district. So I'd like to thank our administrative team, our principals, for putting some slides together and being able to touch on those briefly for us here tonight as to what we do.
Good evening, Board and our audience.
With regard to the bullying and cyberbullying, we have a lot of programs, a lot of items going on at the high school. But let me just start with the three goals. The first goal is to inform folks about the policies that are at hand. The second part, with regard to the bullying, cyber, and bullying piece, is the expectation piece. What's expected from the policy as it relates to the building level. And then the third piece with regard to that is the help side. In other words, if bullying's going on, it's happening to you, how can you report it? How can you get some help with regard to that? So we began our school year in servicing our faculty and staff first. We do that prior to the student's arrival. Of course, we do some at the district level as a group, but at the building level, we particularly drill down a bit with regard to many of the policies, but in tonight's discussion, particularly around the bullying and cyberbullying. So we go over the policies, we talk about the expectations, we talk about, if that occurs, because it can happen. We're talking primarily about student to student, but if it impacts a staff member as well, we talk about that and how they can get assistance as well. But with regard to students, we make sure that the policy is well delineated to faculty. And then the first day the students arrive to campus, we have an adjusted bell schedule. And that schedule is really in a grade level assembly where the associate principal, myself, counselors, the school nurse, our attendance coordinator, our dean of students greet our students by grade level and go over particular items. One that we focus on highly is the bullying and cyberbullying piece. We talk with them about our expectations, we talk about what's in the handbook, and then of course we talk with the students about how they can go get help. And if you look underneath the numerous personnel availability to support students, specifically we have, of course, our administration, our school resource officer, our school police officer, counselors, social worker, and mental health therapists that are on hand to assist students. So not only do we tell them, hey, it's a no-no, but if it's occurring and it's happening, here are supports that are in place for you. We also have students that have experienced different pieces and are having issues. We have a student assistance team program that's available that teachers can make referrals, other staff members can make referrals regarding students that are experiencing issues, and then we kick our mode of operation in trying to lower those incidents from occurring, and then also to provide the support. This year we've had, as you know, the Safe to Say has been implemented across the state. We're required to do that. We had a large group assembly. It went very, very well. We had a person that came from the state of California with regard to the Sandy Cook Association and did a great job of servicing our students. From there, we receive almost weekly Safe to Say reports where students can anonymously provide a tip if they're concerned about something that's occurring in the school, and then we follow up with our team to ensure that student's safe and that folks are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Obviously, often results of discipline occur from that, but more so it's about helping the students. We have a couple groups that have been long-standing folks with regard to support of the bullying program. About 6 years ago, the Principals Advisory Council for Students created a REACH program to try to be in compliance with the wishes of the federal government to have some kind of a program around